Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. After my rebirth, I changed my attitude toward Ethan. When he said he wanted to celebrate Natalie's birthday, I told him to buy more gifts. He took Natalie to the seaside, and I liked their photos on social media, wishing them a great time while I was in the hospital for an abortion. He was accompanying Natalie to treat a cold. I praised him as a good boss, so dedicated to his employees. Due to a system upgrade, I received a lucky discount on my mission and no longer needed to marry him. In my previous life, I spent all my years by Ethan's side, but I never earned a marriage certificate. Even in my old age, my son stood by my sick bed persuading Ethan, "Aunt Natalie waited for you her whole life. Now you can finally marry her. Let me plan an unprecedented silver-haired wedding for you too." Today was Natalie's birthday. I had agreed to help him celebrate, so I might come back late. Over the phone, Ethan's voice was cold and indifferent. I held my phone tightly, still reeling from the system's words just moments ago. I was reborn. In my last life, I failed to complete the mission of capturing Ethan's heart, and I died. This time, the system greeted me with good news. As soon as I opened my eyes, I no longer needed to pursue Ethan. I could leave early. "What's wrong? Are you mad again?" Ethan sounded impatient. "I told you already, there's nothing between me and Natalie. I only see her as a little sister. Stop being so narrow-minded, okay?" When I didn't respond for a while, Ethan grew a bit irritated. "And you're pregnant now. Pregnant women shouldn't let their minds wander. Don't harm the baby over nonsense." His reminder jolted my memory. At this point in time, I had just found out I was pregnant. Fortunately, it wasn't too late to act. I replied calmly. "Buy some extra gifts. Natalie loves luxury brands." When I first came into this world, Ethan was a fresh graduate, and we built his business together from scratch. We worked tirelessly day and night until the company finally gained traction and began to thrive. Now I was pregnant and resting at home while he had hired a secretary, Natalie. Natalie was Ethan's childhood sweetheart. They had dated for 2 years in college but broke up when she went abroad for further studies. Now she was back and effortlessly took the place of all my years of hard work. "Don't think of Natalie as materialistic," Ethan defended her. "She's not like that. She doesn't have family in this city, and we're just offering her some warmth as friends." Ethan couldn't tolerate a single negative word about Natalie. He thought I was being passive-aggressive. "I won't say more. Anyway, I'll try to come back early," he said curtly, running out of patience, and hung up. "Please handle all your affairs within the next 2 weeks. Once the time is up, I will take you away," the system reminded me. I touched my stomach. There were indeed things that needed to be dealt with. "You want an abortion?" The doctor looked at my pregnancy test results with some regret. "Even though it's only been a month, all the indicators. Ethan's are very healthy and you're nearly 30. Why would you want to terminate the pregnancy?" In my previous life, after giving birth, I stayed home to take care of the child while Ethan's company grew rapidly. He opened multiple branches in other cities and traveled often, sometimes for months. Naturally, as his secretary, Natalie was always by his side. As my son grew up, he gradually shifted his affection for me to Natalie. Where he once only had eyes for his mother, he eventually started mentioning Aunt Natalie frequently. By the time he was in high school, at one parent-teacher conference, Ethan used the excuse that I was busy to have Natalie attend the conference on my behalf. I only found out about it from other parents. "Is that your sister who came to the last parent-teacher conference for your child?" "Ethan's mom, she's so young and beautiful." I touched my increasingly rough hands and face, neglected from years of care, and remained silent for a long time. My grown son, much like his father, became increasingly absent as he entered middle age. I had once complained to Ethan in front of him about how Ethan never wanted to marry me. My son had responded, "You're already at this age. You've kept Dad to yourself for a lifetime. Why do you still care about something as trivial as a marriage certificate?" But in the end, standing by my sick bed, he said to Ethan, "Aunt Natalie waited for you her whole life. Now you can finally be together openly. Let me plan a groundbreaking silver-haired wedding for you too." At the very last moment of my life, I was left with nothing but deep regret. If I had known it would turn out this way, why did I ever give birth to him? My relationship with Ethan was strained from the beginning. We couldn't marry, and raising a child out of wedlock had been too hard. I decided to go through with the abortion. The doctor sighed but didn't try to persuade me further. The procedure was scheduled for 2 days later. I looked forward to regaining my freedom soon. In the middle of the night, I received a call from Ethan. I answered twice with hello. But there was no response. Instead, I heard the chatter and laughter of his friends in the background. It seemed he had accidentally dialed me. Just as I was about to hang up, I heard a man's voice asking, "Ethan, are you really not planning to marry Lily?" I recognized that voice. It was one of Ethan's close friends. They were probably celebrating Natalie's birthday together. Suddenly, the laughter quieted down. Everyone was waiting for Ethan's response. In the silence, Ethan finally answered, "The person I want to marry isn't Lily, but since we started this company together and she holds shares, it only makes sense for me to stay with her for now. But getting married? I can't do it." There was a collective sigh on the other end. Someone said, "Natalie, why are you crying?" Then came Ethan's panicked voice. "Natalie, I didn't mean." I didn't listen further. I hung up the phone silently. Ethan didn't return until the next. The day he opened the door, I was leisurely having breakfast. His expression was slightly unnatural, but he still explained, "After we celebrated Natalie's birthday last night, everyone insisted on going out to sing karaoke. I lost track of time, and by the time I realized it was already late, I thought coming back then would wake you, so I stayed at the office instead." I could still smell faint traces of perfume on him, Natalie's favorite scent. I nodded. Got it. My indifference made Ethan relax, but he quickly grew dissatisfied. "You've changed," he remarked. "In the past, if I came home late, you would bombard me with calls and texts. Last night, you didn't even call once." I swallowed the last bite of my toast. "Didn't you tell me to be more generous and give you space? Besides, we don't have a marriage certificate. We're not officially husband and wife." I thought to myself, I have no standing to demand anything from Ethan about marriage. Subconsciously, I resisted the idea of rushing into it anyway. "Let's wait until after you've had the baby to discuss it. Whether or not we have that marriage certificate doesn't really matter between us," I replied. "You're right," Ethan said, looking at me puzzled, trying to discern my true emotions from my expression. But I remained calm and neutral, leaving him with nothing to read. After all these years, he had never truly understood my feelings. When you don't genuinely care about someone, there's no need to invest the effort to understand them. 2 days passed quickly. I packed the essentials and headed to the hospital. Although the doctor had advised bringing family or friends, I had neither. In this world, my entire life here revolved around Ethan. I had no relatives, no close friends, and no one to accompany me, so I went alone. While paying the fees, I encountered someone I had expected but also dreaded to see. Ethan and Natalie. Natalie was covering her mouth, coughing lightly now and then. Ethan looked at her with concern, gently guiding her to a seat to rest while he queued up to pay the fees. He looked like a devoted husband, a side of him I had never seen before. Every time I needed to go to the hospital, Ethan would tell me, "Lily, I'm busy. I trust you can take care of yourself." I had always understood and refrained from burdening him, but the outcome of being so considerate was that no one ever treated me as someone worth prioritizing. I silently lined up behind him. Even while waiting, Ethan kept turning to check on Natalie. "Natalie, wrap your scarf properly. Don't catch a chill." His words were cut short when he noticed me standing there. "Lily, what are you doing here?" he asked, visibly startled. I raised the medical form in my hand. "I'm here for a prenatal checkup. What about you?" We greeted each other like mere acquaintances. Ethan hesitated for a moment before replying, "Natalie has a cold. I came with her to see the doctor." "I see," I said with indifference. "Well, you're her boss. It's only right to take care of your employees." Ethan glanced at the form in my hand. I handed and nodded. "It's good that you think so. After I finish here with Natalie, I'll stay and accompany you for your checkup." Before I could respond, Natalie approached us. Her eyes were red, either from her cold or something else. "Ethan, you don't need to stay with me. I'll be fine on my own. Lily is more important than me. You should stay with her," she said, her nasal voice heavy, making her sound pitiful. Ethan's expression softened with guilt. "No way. You're sick. How can you be alone? What if you need help and there's no one to assist you? How could I face our years of friendship if I left you like that? Then he turned to me with an apologetic look. Lily, you can manage on your own, right? How could I proceed with the abortion if he stayed? Without hesitation, I replied, of course. I watched them walk off together. Their retreating figures caught the attention of an elderly woman nearby, who turned to me with curiosity. Miss, what's your relationship with that young man? I'm old and I can't quite make sense of it. That's the father of my child, I answered, though he won't be for much longer. The procedure was quick. After a brief sleep, the child in my womb was gone. In my previous life, I had spent the first half revolving around Ethan and the second half around our child. In the end, both my husband and my child belonged to someone else. Touching my now flat stomach, I felt a sense of relief as though I had been reborn. Take care of yourself after the surgery, the doctor instructed, repeating it multiple times. You need to rest and recuperate properly. I nodded, promising to follow the advice. Supporting my weakened body, I returned home. As I opened the door, I was greeted by the sight of Natalie sitting on the sofa. Ethan stood nearby, holding a cup, urging her to drink. Drink more warm water, he said gently. Get better soon, Ethan said softly. Natalie burst out laughing. You're such a typical guy. All you know is to tell people to drink warm water. Their interaction was gentle and affectionate, the kind of harmony that felt like a slap to my face. When they heard the door open, they both turned to look at me. Ethan remained seated. You're back. How was your checkup? Without waiting for me to answer, he continued. Natalie isn't feeling well, and I was worried she'd be alone at home with no one to take care of her. I figured she could stay here for the night. That way, it's easier for me to keep an eye on her. My abdomen ached slightly, the lingering pain from the surgery making me feel even more drained. Fine, I replied. You two carry on. I'm a bit tired and need to rest. Ethan's voice stopped me in my tracks, laced with dissatisfaction. Dinner isn't ready yet, and you're already heading to bed. I bought plenty of ingredients, they're in the kitchen. You're great at cooking, and now's the perfect chance for Natalie to try your food. It might even help her recover faster. Even after 2 lifetimes, I still knew exactly how Ethan viewed me. Yet in this moment of physical weakness, his words cut deeper. My tone was cold and restrained. Which is more important, Natalie's cold or my pregnancy? Ethan paused, taken aback. Those two things aren't related. Why are you comparing them? I closed my eyes, suppressing the bitterness that threatened to overflow. I said, I'm tired. Didn't you hear me? I'm carrying your child. Are you really asking a pregnant woman who's unwell to cook dinner for your childhood sweetheart? Ethan's face darkened. If you don't want to cook, fine. But don't bring Natalie into this. She's a guest, not here to deal with your attitude. I laughed bitterly. A guest? Did I invite her here? Natalie's face turned pale as she stood up and apologized. I'm sorry, Lily. I didn't realize you didn't want me here. I'll leave now. Before she could move, Ethan grabbed her arm and shielded her behind him. His tone was icy. Lily, this is my home, he said, enunciating each word. If anyone has to leave, it won't be Natalie. I almost forgot this house was bought with the first bit of money we earned together. At the time, I told him there's no need to differentiate between us. Just put it under your name. Back then, before Natalie returned, my trust in Ethan was absolute. Now he was standing here ready to kick me out. Instead, I turned and left without looking back. Ethan didn't stop me. It was always me who swallowed my pride first whenever we argued. But his patience and kindness were reserved solely for Natalie. The weather had turned chilly. Still recovering from surgery, I didn't dare wander aimlessly in the streets. I checked into a hotel instead. In the brightly lit bathroom, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. My face was gaunt, my appearance utterly disheveled. There was a time when I was full of energy, firmly believing that Ethan and I shared the same dreams. We worked late into the night, striving for a brighter future. The longest stretch was when we huddled together in a cramped office, watching the sky turn from night to dawn. Our goal will come true, I had said, leaning against Ethan for support. Ethan's eyes had softened and he hugged me tightly. You don't have to work this hard, he whispered. Don't be silly, I had replied with a smile. As long as you succeed, I don't mind the hardship. And he had succeeded. He had forgotten all the hardships we endured together, supporting each other through thick and thin. My abdomen still ached, making it hard for me to fall asleep. I tossed and turned until late into the night and finally drifted off. When I woke the next day, it was already afternoon. My phone was eerily silent, no calls, no messages. The pin chat with Ethan showed no updates. The last message was from 2 weeks ago. I absent-mindedly scrolled through my social feed and saw Natalie's latest post. Feeling down, Ethan took to see the ocean, he said. The sea breeze can blow all the sadness away. He's still the same as when we were kids. After all this time, he's come back unchanged, still as vibrant as ever. There were 9 photos, all of Natalie and Ethan by the blue ocean. Ethan striking various playful poses and grinning brightly. I remembered when Ethan and I went on a trip together. I tried to pull him into taking photos with me. He had frowned and refused, saying, "I don't like posing for the camera. You go ahead and take your own pictures." I laughed bitterly at the memory and gave Natalie's post a like. Not long after, Ethan messaged me, "You should be feeling better now, right? If you're fine, come home. It's not safe to stay out with the baby." Natalie was feeling down, so I took her to see the ocean. "We won't be gone long. Take care of yourself." In Ethan's eyes, I was someone who never needed comfort. In the past, I might have cried or argued, but now I felt nothing. Even the only tie between us, our child, was gone. As of yesterday, there was nothing left between us. I replied, "Hope you both have a great time." The typing indicator on his end blinked for a while, but in the end he didn't respond. I went back to the apartment, packed my belongings, and sorted through everything. I threw out what I didn't need and gave away what could be donated. There was even a new set of cookware I had bought to make soups for Ethan's stomach issues. It was no longer necessary, so I gifted it to my neighbor Grace, who was a few years older than me. She pulled me aside and asked, "You and Ethan didn't have a fight, did you?" I shook my head. "Oh, let me tell you," she said, pointing at my apartment door. "Last night, a young woman stayed over at your place. It was already midnight, and I could hear her and Ethan laughing and chatting. Then this morning I saw them leave together, pulling suitcases." She sighed and continued, "You know men are easily tempted. You're pregnant now, so you have to watch him closely. Don't give other women a chance to worm their way in. But honestly, if his heart's not with you, no amount of watching will help." I spent the next 2 days scrubbing every trace of my life from that apartment. When I looked at the half-empty rooms, I felt no attachment. Crossed 2 lifetimes, the happy moments I'd had in that house were pitifully few. With less than 10 days left before my departure, I planned to stay at a hotel. But as I stepped out, I saw Ethan's car parked outside. He had returned. It was already evening and the light was dim. I couldn't hear what Natalie was saying in the passenger seat, but she was smiling. Ethan reached out, took her hand, and kissed it. In my past life, I had witnessed a similar scene when Ethan and Natalie brought our 10-year-old son to an amusement park. I had stayed home to care for Ethan's sick mother. That night, there was a fireworks show at the park, and as the sky lit up brilliantly, Ethan and Natalie had shared a passionate kiss. Our son Sean had covered his eyes and laughed, and someone nearby had taken a photo of them. The picture was posted online, showing a handsome man, a beautiful woman, and an adorable child. The caption read, "This must be the perfect picture of happiness." Someone recognized Ethan and commented, accusing him of cheating. Ethan, using my name, had replied, "We were never married, so how is this cheating?" This incident didn't cause much of a stir. Without the legal bond of marriage, it was merely a faint whisper of moral condemnation, quickly silenced by Ethan. I confronted him with the photos, demanding an explanation. Ethan responded coldly, "If you still want to stay by my side and raise Sean, stop making a big deal out of this. No one is allowed to hurt Natalie." Sean echoed his sentiment. "Yeah, Mom, stop questioning Dad. Aunt Natalie has been so upset. She cried several times. When she's unhappy, I'm unhappy, and if I'm unhappy, you'll be sad too, right?" I stood silently for a moment, then walked away. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Natalie, a picture of Ethan kissing her. Seconds later, she retracted it and sent a panicked follow-up. "Sorry, Lily, I sent it to the wrong person. You didn't see anything, did you?" I blocked her immediately. Within minutes, Ethan called, his tone furious. "Lily, why did you block Natalie? Why do you always hurt her for no reason?" I was too tired to explain myself. Whenever Natalie was involved, Ethan became blind to reason, willing to go against the entire world for her. His intelligence seemed to plummet when it came to her. "You're so petty," he accused. "I don't think I'll come home anytime soon. Take this time to calm down and reflect on your behavior." He angrily hung up the phone, likely turning to comfort Natalie, who was once again pretending to be hurt. That so-called home was already empty. Whether Ethan returned or not made no difference to me. In the final days before my departure, I decided to visit the only person I still cared about, Ethan's mother, Lon. Even though Ethan and I had never married, I had called her Mom my entire life. She was kind and had always treated me like her own daughter, constantly advising Ethan to be good to me. In my past life, after she became ill and her caregiver neglected her, I did everything I could to take care of her, surpassing even Ethan's efforts as her biological son. Currently, she lived in her house in the suburbs. I had invited her to stay with us several times, but she always laughed and refused, saying she didn't want to disrupt our married life. She said she would come and help after the baby was born. As I approached her house, I noticed a familiar car parked in the driveway. I hadn't expected to run into Ethan here. Just as I was about to leave, I heard voices coming from inside. "Natalie, I've missed you these past few days. I think about you all the time," Lon said in a loving tone. "It's Ethan's fault," Natalie replied playfully. "He took me to the ocean a few days ago and didn't want me to tire myself out. Otherwise, I'd have come to see you sooner." My feet felt rooted to the ground as the conversation continued. "It's a good thing Ethan cares about you," Lon said warmly. "I never thought that boy had it in him to care about anyone. Look at how he treats Lily. He doesn't even care about her as much as a strand of your hair." Lon laughed. Her words were unfamiliar and cutting. Natalie remembered this. "The daughter-in-law of the Ethan family is only you, but both Ethan and I recognize you. I've thought of you as my daughter-in-law since you were a child. If it weren't for your unique condition, your inability to have children, Ethan wouldn't have had to keep Lily around. Don't worry, Natalie. Once Lily has the baby, you and Ethan can get married. That child will be yours and Ethan's." It felt like a bolt of lightning striking me out of nowhere. My mind went blank, leaving me in a daze. So that's how it was in my past life. My son C initially only had eyes for me as his mother, but every time he stayed at Lan's house for a while, he'd come back closer to Natalie and colder toward me. Now I understood. It was my kind mother-in-law who had been orchestrating this. A bitter taste filled my mouth. My mediocre life had not only been a joke to Ethan but was also a pawn in Lan's schemes. I had cared for her through her illness and cried until my vision went dark when she passed away. The autumn wind brushed against my hair and clothes, and my heart felt like it had been submerged in ice water. I wandered aimlessly until I found myself in a park. A little girl's ball rolled to my feet. I bent down to pick it up and handed it to her. She had adorable round eyes sparkling like gems and said in a sweet childlike voice, "Thank you, sister. You look sad." With her chubby little hands, she rummaged through her small pocket and pulled out a lollipop, placing it in my hand. "Mom says to throw away all the things that make you sad and keep the ones that make you happy," she said earnestly. "I threw away my math problems last time and kept the lollipop. Now I'll give it to you." I held the lollipop tightly. She was right. Even a child understood such a simple truth. Why was I so stuck? The truth had finally come to light before my departure. That alone was worth celebrating. If something made me unhappy, I should discard it. If someone made me unhappy, I should discard them too. I resolved to leave this world with a light heart. My mood instantly lifted, and it felt as though all my burdens had been lifted. Even the wind seemed gentler. Ethan didn't come home for an entire week, likely thinking that giving me space would teach me to behave, just as it always had in the past. Every time we fought, this was his solution, and every time I would give in, becoming the compliant and obedient Lily he wanted. Too weak to demand a breakup. But this time things were different. The silence stretched on and I didn't reach out to him. Not a single call or message. Ethan felt a flicker of unease but brushed it off. When he finally returned home, he opened the door to darkness. It was only 8 p.m. Had I gone to bed early? Was it because of the pregnancy? Concern flickered in his mind as he turned on the lights. The sight of the half-empty house stunned him. His eyes widened in disbelief, and he rushed to the bedroom, pushing the door open with a bang. I wasn't there. He checked every room, but there was no trace of the person who always left a light on for him. Ethan's face darkened. Lily's gone too far this time, running away from home. Even if she came back begging for reconciliation, he resolved not to forgive her so easily this time. He sat on the couch in the living room, his gaze falling on a piece of paper pinned under a glass on the coffee table. From his angle, he could just make out the words hospital receipt. Ethan picked up the glass and saw the itemized list on the receipt. One line read surgical fees. His confusion turned to horror as he processed the information. His face paled. Lily. He murmured her name through gritted teeth. He frantically called my number, but like Natalie, he discovered that I had blocked him. For the first time, fear gripped Ethan's heart like never before. He had never imagined that someone as obedient and eager for a child as me could so easily decide to have an abortion. That was his child. How could I make that decision without him? Ethan rushed out of the house, running into Grace, our neighbor, who had just returned from her evening walk. Ethan, you're finally back. Do you know where Lily is? I haven't seen her in over a week, she called out. Ethan didn't answer. Like a headless chicken, he began searching for me everywhere. I only had a handful of acquaintances. I hadn't gone to the office, nor had I been to Lance's house. He spent the entire night searching but found no trace of me. When he was on the verge of despair, a friend informed him that they had found my name on the guest list of a hotel. Ethan rushed over without delay, only to be told that I had already checked out. Today was the day I would leave this world, and I felt exhilarated. I left the hotel early in the morning and chose the park as the place where I'd say goodbye. The system asked if I wanted to bring anything along that could help me carry it. I squeezed the lollipop in my hand, the one the adorable little girl had given me. This will do, I said. The system informed me that upon returning to my original world, I would receive a reward of $1 billion in cash. The wealth I had created in this world was valued at $50 million. And with the system's upgrade, the reward had been doubled. It was an unexpected windfall that lifted my spirits even higher. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed incessantly, displaying countless missed calls from Ethan. After some thought, I unblocked him and called him back. Lily, what the hell are you doing? Where are you? I've been looking for you for an entire day and night. Ethan's voice came through, furious and panicked. Rarely did he show such unrestrained emotion. Why did you get rid of the baby? How could you make such a selfish decision without even telling me? I'm the father, Ethan, I said calmly. Do you know when I had the abortion? Ethan didn't answer. It was the day you accompanied Natalie to the hospital for her cold. You're right, I've always been capable of taking care of myself, so I went alone. You went through with it just because I was with Natalie? He asked, still seemingly confused. Ethan, I said evenly. I've told you before, I only ever saw her as my sister. No one kisses their sister, I replied, my tone steady. That's incest. Ethan went silent, his breath catching as he realized what I had witnessed. You saw us, he murmured. Not just that, I said. I also heard what you and your mother discussed. Since Natalie can't have children, you give my baby to her. Ethan, your entire family is impressively conniving. Lily, Ethan interrupted, his voice trembling. It's not what you think. My mother may have said that, but I never intended to go through with it. It doesn't matter anymore, I said, glancing at the portal opening behind me. The only reason I took your call was to tell you one thing. I'm leaving. Where are you going? Ethan's voice rose in panic. You have no one but me. Where else could you go? No, I won't let you leave. 5 years ago, I came here with a mission to marry you, Ethan. I once loved you unrelated to any mission, but you treated my love as something cheap, something to squander endlessly. I don't love you anymore. I'm going back to my world. Goodbye, Ethan. No. I heard his voice both through the phone and in real life. Looking up, I saw him sprinting toward me from the other side of the park, his hair disheveled. He had used my phone's GPS to find me. His eyes widened as he saw the shimmering portal behind me, disbelief written all over his face. Lily, don't go. Let's get married. I'll get the marriage certificate right now, he shouted, desperation lacing his voice. I stepped back toward the portal. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I saw genuine reluctance and panic in Ethan's eyes for me, but it was too late. That kind of cheap sentiment I didn't want. We'll get married, Ethan pleaded. We'll have a grand wedding. So what if the baby's gone? We can always have another. He reached out his hand toward me, desperation in his eyes. Lily, I was wrong. Please give me a chance to make things right. I didn't reply. Without hesitation, I turned and stepped into the portal, leaving behind Ethan's frantic footsteps and heart-wrenching cries in a world that no longer belonged to me. A month had passed since I left. No one believed Ethan when he said, Lily went back to her own world. Don't be ridiculous, they'd say. She just broke up with you. Ethan couldn't even find solace in their attempts to comfort him. For the first time, he realized how empty and cold his home was. No more bustling figure in the kitchen. No more warm meals on the table. No one unconditionally forgiving his every mistake. He stared at the hospital receipt over and over, haunted by the memory of that day. He had been running up and down the hospital for Natalie's cold while I lay alone. In the operating room, surrounded only by cold, sterile instruments, what once came to him so effortlessly, the warmth, the love, was now just a flood of precious memories. Suddenly, invaluable Natalie moved into the home I had once shared with Ethan, filling the empty space with her presence. Yet something felt off. Was it the bed sheets and colors I would never have chosen? The meals that didn't suit his taste? Or the soap operas on TV that I would have never watched? He couldn't quite place it. Natalie chirped endlessly about her day, complaining about work and coworkers, but Ethan's mind wandered. He found himself thinking about me. How I had never complained, how I always encouraged him, helped him analyze problems and stood by him during the hardest times. I had built a business with him from nothing, and even after his success, still brought him late-night bowls of soup to soothe his stomach. Every time he saw Grace, our neighbor, she sighed deeply. Ethan, you've lost a rare gem like Lily. Won't you regret it? Ethan began dreaming about me frequently. His mother, Lon, tried to console him. Lily is gone, and that's that. What a pity about my grandson. Natalie can't have kids. Where will you ever find another woman as genuine as Lily? Meanwhile, the once thriving business Ethan had built began to falter. Orders plummeted, and no matter what efforts he made, the company's decline seemed unstoppable. Under immense stress, Ethan started losing focus. One day while driving, his exhaustion caught up with him, and he had a severe car accident. He spent 3 months in the hospital recovering. Lon, stressed over her son's condition, fell ill herself. First, Natalie split her time between caring for Ethan and Lon, but her patience quickly wore thin. She eventually hired a caretaker and stopped visiting altogether. One day, Lon tearfully confided in Ethan, "You see someone's true colors over time. Natalie isn't someone you can count on in hard times. She's nothing compared to Lily. If Lily were still here, she'd be taking care of both of us so well. Where in the world can you find another Lily?" The last time Natalie visited, it wasn't to comfort Ethan but to inform him that most of the company's employees had quit. "The company's collapsing," she said bluntly. "Zenith Corporation offered me a job, and I accepted it. Ethan, we're not a good match. Let's break up." But Natalie never actually started her new job. She had betrayed Ethan, leaking confidential company information, which tarnished her reputation in the industry. She became blacklisted, struggling to find work. Meanwhile, the caretaker Lon relied on neglected her duties. One night, while the caretaker napped in another room, Lon tried to get out of bed to use the bathroom. She called for help but got no response. Struggling on her own, she fell, hitting her head on the floor and dying instantly. Ethan, limping from his injuries, arranged Lon's funeral by himself. On the day of her burial, his company officially declared bankruptcy. Ethan stared at his reflection. In the mirror, his unkempt beard and haggard face stared back, a stark contrast to the confident man he once was. In just a short time, he had fallen from the heights of success to the depths of despair. The version of himself who had thrived alongside Lily now felt like a distant memory from another lifetime. Ethan understood clearly he could no longer rise from this fall without Lily. He was nothing. Meanwhile, in another world, Lily heard the cheerful voice of the system. Congratulations, host. The remaining $50 million reward has been credited to your account. Please check your balance. She sat in a spacious office, smiling as she gazed out the floor-to-ceiling window at the breathtaking cityscape. The sunlight spilled across the buildings, scattering like golden shards over the bustling streets below. Miss Lily, the meeting is about to begin. Everyone is waiting for your speech. Lily stood up, her steps light and confident. The sunlight illuminated her figure, making her seem as though she were glowing. And that concludes today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. See you in the next video.